Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. Joining me today is Suraj Nagaraj. He is the artistic director and conductor for the Australian Indian Orchestra. It is a unique orchestral project never before seen in Australia that incorporates Eastern, classical, and Bollywood music with a 50-piece Western symphony orchestra. Suraj and his brother Sagar are the co-founders of the AIO, and through their heritage of musical talent, have created something extraordinary. They have already staged 2 live concerts in 2023 and are now working towards another one in the near future. I'll post a link to the AIO website and all of their socials in the description for this episode. As always, I thank you guys for your support. If you are new to the podcast, kindly consider subscribing. If you're already subscribed, kindly leave us a comment and a like, because your engagement with my videos is the only thing that helps this channel grow. Also, if you have not done so already, kindly check out all of our social media platforms for our short form content. All of the highlights from this conversation and all of my past conversations are going to be up there, so do check that out. But anyways, without further ado, this is my conversation with Suraj Nagaraj in The Gap. So, about yourself, what I found interesting when I was searching about you is that you're obviously a civil engineering student, and you're so deeply ingrained in the music, and obviously music is something that you do as a passion, like the AIO, the stuff that you've done with like Bombay to Sydney.
Sydney to Mumbai. Yeah.
Say Sydney to Mumbai. Sorry. Yeah. So that show that you guys did, and plus. The Conservatory of Music that you've done some work over there as well.
Yeah, I haven't studied at the conservatorium, but I do a lot of performances at the conservatorium. I work with a lot of musicians.
And you teach?
And I do teach. I don't teach at the conservatorium.
Yeah.
Otherwise I'd be a big professor or something like that. But no, I just teach as a sort of a bit of a side hustle, just to support the bills. But I teach at a school, at Hunters Hill Public School, and originally my brother was teaching there, and he just asked me to sort of give a helping hand to the school to teach some of the students. And I think through teaching it's given me a lot more joy in learning more music and seeing like young people rise up and reach their full potential with their music. So I do a lot of things, with music, and it's a big passion of mine.
Yeah, so that was really fascinating, that being an engineering student and, doing music to that extent. So would you say that, like, once you're done with your degree, like, would you say that music is going to be the pathway that you want to take if given the chance?
I would say yes. If the music side of my life really picked up, if this orchestra really, became a full successful hit, we kept giving concerts and potentially going on tours, for sure, I would go full time.
So is engineering just part of that thing, that being from a South Asian background?
Look,
you have to be an engineer.
I do understand the stereotype that Indians are given. Yeah, not just Indians, Asians. Like
Pakistanis, mate. I'm an engineer.
Yeah.
Look at me, I'm doing a podcast.
Yeah. You got to be a lawyer, doctor, or engineer. One of those three. But I think in Australia we're very gifted to be able to explore different avenues of careers. Yeah. And I know that being arts, music. Yes. It is a bit difficult though to be successful in the arts business because there is so much competition, and you have to really fine tune your art and be really unique. You have to stand out essentially.
Yep.
And doing that takes a lot of years of effort and practice, and you need to experiment with all different things, and to make it profitable as well, it's very hard. So
I can understand that. I've interviewed a couple of artists over here, like filmmakers and theater artists. Like, that's the common denominator there, is that to make it financially viable, it's a big issue.
Because you need sponsors, you need donors to help you, at least from the beginning, right? Because once you start in the beginning, you're starting with zero capital. So
of course
you need to have a little boost. But how do you get that boost when nobody knows
who you are?
Who we are and much about you. So that's the biggest hurdle our orchestra is facing at the moment. So we're currently trying to plan our next concert. We have the concept ready. but it's just all about securing the funding. The previous 2 concerts, we sort of sourced our own funds for it. We had to commit our own funds to book the venue and book the players, and we relied upon getting the revenue afterwards to cover the costs. But there's a lot of financial risk involved with that.
Of course.
And I think for our future concerts, we don't want to be taking such big of a risk, because the last 2 concerts were extremely stressful. We were trying, working overtime, trying to do the marketing, and it was just, the team was just my brother and I. We had to manage the music, the marketing, the outreach, everything, the logistics of it. So we were pretty much burnt out with it. It was very stressful. So
Sagar is older than you, isn't he?
He is.
So how old is he?
He is 27.
27.
Yeah, 27.
So about and you're 20?
21.
21. So it's about 6 years difference. So tell me about the relationship between you and Sagar. Like how are you guys as brothers?
Yeah, look, I really look up to my brother.
Yeah.
He's definitely a lot very involved in music. He's very charismatic. And he's outgoing extrovert, and I kind of look up to him as a sort of role model in a way. When we were younger, we used to have a lot of competition as well with each other, trying to see who's the better sibling, better violinist kind of thing. But it was about sometimes a bit of a tough love as well. My brother was also my teacher for violin, and he'd be sometimes a bit strict and harsh with the way he taught. But in a way, it kind of helped me become a really good violinist. And throughout that sort of that experience, that learning curve, I really did appreciate that sort of relationship, the dynamic that we had. And now that we're older, we're able to sort of look back and in a different lens.
And not just being siblings, but also when you undertake a huge project like the ones that you've taken with the orchestra and the shows that you've taken, it brings a whole other dynamic to the relationship, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's right. So there's a more professional dynamic. We have to now respect each other's talents and unique skills.
Yes.
In different areas. So my brother's really good at I guess logistics and planning and talking and networking. So for this concert, I let him completely manage the whole logistics side of the operation. And then for me, I would say I was more talented in the music for Indian style of music, and to be able to plan the music style, direct the artistic side of things. Yes. I was in charge of that, and we had to sort of make that agreement in the beginning just to settle it out, so we would not cross in each other's ways. Yeah. So, and I think that has made it a lot easier to manage this whole thing.
Yeah. So probably Sagar might be watching right now.
Yeah.
So hand on heart, who's the better violinist?
It's well, all depends on who practices more. So Sagar's currently overseas, traveling on a holiday, so he hasn't touched his violin in a while. So,
okay. So you might
maybe
a little edge
might be taking the lead here. So
okay.
But we all have our different
So do you guys come from a musical family?
Our heritage, our ancestors, we come from a place called Rudrapatna in South India, and a lot of our ancestors were musicians.
Okay.
They Indian classical musicians. They played veena. They sung. They played violin.
Yeah.
My immediate family, my parents, my mom learned a bit of veena, and she was a singer as well.
Yeah.
And my dad was just a painter.
Yeah.
So, in terms of music and singing, it wasn't great. It wasn't the world class level, the professional level kind of singing. It was just simple humming in the house.
Yeah.
So
but music always had a place within the household.
That's right. Yeah, my parents were always listening to indie music. Yeah.
Sure. And that is obviously what you and Sagar grew up with.
Yeah, we grew up listening to a bit of Indian songs, but we started learning violin in a more Western classical context. So to learn violin, and that's the problem with learning violin here in Australia, it's a bit harder to start learning Indian classical.
Yes.
Because the environment here supports Western classical a lot more. So naturally we started learning Western classical music. My brother started first, of course, and after a couple of years, when I was 4, I was inspired, motivated to play violin because of my brother, because he was playing it in the house. And so we both started learning Western classical music. And my parents supported us to learn Western classical. And only now, after all these years, I'm coming to know that my parents actually wanted us to also learn, more Indian classical when we were younger. But they didn't want to sort of impede on our learning for Western classical. So I think there is a bit of sort of like regret in terms of my parents not introducing Indian classical a lot more when we were younger. Because when we're younger, we're able to learn a lot faster and quicker, and and grow more fond of that style of music. But we were not sort of introduced Indian classical at a young age. It was just like simple Bollywood tunes or Kannada tunes here and there, but it was not like Carnatic music like that.
That would have been like more commercial music that you were playing. So this might be like a technical question. So you said that you started off learning Western classical, right?
Yeah.
And then only recently you came to Eastern classical.
That's right.
Now you play strings predominantly.
Yeah.
Right. So the technical base of playing Western classical, does that have any overlap with Eastern classical? Like, are there any things that you can carry over from there?
Yeah, for sure. Especially like when playing violin. When you play your fingers with like the left hand, right hand, it's basically the same when you're playing with Eastern classical. The only difference is in terms of the tuning of the instrument and the nuances with your hand. Like sometimes you're moving your hand in a very wavy, slidey way. You're sliding your hand a lot more on the string, which you don't really do that in Western classical.
Because you need to bend the note, basically.
Yeah, bend a note, like we call that gamakam.
Okay.
In the Indian classical term. But in terms of differentiating between Western classical, Indian classical technique, Indian classical revolves a lot more on soloistic expression, improvisation within the notes, trying to weave your way around all of the notes of the raga, and trying to create essentially like an emotion, a story with just your own traversal of the notes of the raga, and with your hand, and right hand, left hand. In terms of violin, it's just all like the same, playing with the bowing with Western classical.
Okay. Interesting. So when you listen to, obviously you're somebody who's you write sheet music as well, right?
Yeah.
Has it happened to you that now if you ever listen to a song or if you ever listen to some kind of music, like your mind just instinctively starts creating the sheet music in your head? My point is that because you're also a student of science, right? You're a student of engineering. We tend to approach things from a very methodical point of view, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. In a very logical, sequential
That's
way.
Right.
So, do you approach music the same way now?
When I do hear the music, I essentially hear the pitch. I don't see the notes in the head. I kind of hear the pitch in the head, and I try to match it with the fingers. On my violin. Of course, when I'm sitting on a computer and actually writing the notes, I will, the method I use, I hear the song, I figure out what note it is, like is it an A or a B, and then based on that I will put it on the sheet music. So I don't see the note first, I hear the note first, and then I can plot it and visualize it on the sheet music.
So writing sheet music, like, is that something that you had to learn over time, or like how does it work? I have absolutely no idea on how sheet music works.
Sheet music, so it's kind of like a language where you're able to read like words, sentences, right? Music is basically like reading like a book, like words, and each music consists of 5 lines, and based on how high and low the notes are placed on those lines determines how high and low the pitch is.
Okay.
And the stems and the beams underneath the notes, and the notes are basically circles on the 5 lines, and the stems and the beams determine the rhythm of the notes. So by reading, you're able to immediately know how long to play the note for and what pitch you're going to play.
Okay.
And the benefit of reading sheet music is you're able to also understand how to actually play the note itself. Whether you're going to play it softly, you have to play it loudly.
Yeah.
There's a lot of terms that you can add onto the page to create a lot more detail for how you can perform that note. Yeah. And that's the beauty about reading Western classical music. And we learned Western classical, and we were trained to read sheet music from an early age. So I'm very thankful that I learned in that way. So
that's a very useful tool to have.
It is very useful, especially when you're playing in an orchestra.
Of course.
Because in order to get all of the 100 musicians to play in unison, in that synchrony, you need to have a standard way of reading and playing music. Of course. And the sheet music creates a sort of standard for how you can play. Yeah. It's a really easy way to communicate to the musicians how to play. And instead of just telling them, okay, you got to play like this, you got to play like that. That's extra work. The sheet music just does it for you.
So when you started doing like Eastern classical, right? And you obviously started Nagaraj music for the sheet music that you now produce, right? Is that like a gap that you identified, that there's not enough sheet music available for Eastern classical or Eastern songs available?
I think, so it all started when I was playing my violin on YouTube. I was playing, doing violin covers, and I was getting a lot of comments on the videos saying, hey, I want like notes for these. Can you please provide the notes for them? Yeah. And there were a lot of requests like that for a lot of the videos. So I was noticing that there was some gap in the market there. Yeah. There needs to be some sort of service to product to be able to provide to the customers for them to play the music, right? A sheet music that they can rely upon to play anywhere. So I thought of creating that website to just put my whole catalog of sheet music for all the Indian songs, because for me to play those Indian songs, I write the notes myself and then play them and then record them. And I guess the website is a way to sort of not let all of that effort kind of just go to waste, but actually be able to help someone else. Yeah. Who will need to play that music. So
it's and definitely for somebody like a young kid out there who's trying to learn or pick something up like that. Definitely, I think it's something really useful. So that brings me to the fact with the orchestra. Like you're the guy who arranged the orchestra, and you've played in orchestra before. So with a lot of the songs that you covered with the Australian Indian Orchestra and Sydney to Mumbai, a lot of the songs that you guys did, it's not just the song that you're playing; it's also the orchestral symphony that goes along with it. That wasn't part of the original song. Like the orchestral symphony is something that you added as a layer on top of the song itself.
Actually, some of the songs already had the symphonic element to it, but I was able to extract those notes from that whole symphony and make it into a visual format. Okay. On a score. So a score is basically a piece of music that contains the music for all of the different parts of the instruments in the orchestra. Okay. So, for example, in Abhi Mujh Mein Kahin, that song, it's actually played with a whole full symphony orchestra. You have violins, violas, cellos, basses, and horns, trumpets. So what I do is I hear the song, I figure out when the cello is playing, when the violin is playing, when the horn is playing.
I gotcha.
And then I notate it onto
You separate those layers for all.
Separate those layers, and I give those parts to all the different musicians so that they can replicate it live.
Wow, it's a huge effort, mate. Like, honestly, like I'm saying this as a fan. I've seen some of the videos that you guys did for the AIO. The one video with the closing of Mere Naam Tu. I love that video.
Oh yeah. Like, it's one of my favorites.
Like you've done such an amazing job with the ending of that. Like I'm a sucker for symphony orchestra. Yeah. Right. Like anything orchestral, like I just flow with it. So I didn't know the song. Honestly, I did not know the song, but just I saw that video of yours of the closing of that. It's so beautifully done, and it just flows you, with it. So that was really nicely done.
And that's the beauty of the orchestra. You have so many different instruments playing. Yeah. and those instruments are playing totally different parts. Like the trumpet is playing something different to the violin.
Yeah.
And in spite of that, when they all play together, it sounds amazing. It sounds like
ethereal.
Ethereal, exactly, ethereal. Like out of this world.
Yeah.
And that is the true essence of what inspired me to pursue Western classical music and keep playing the violin, because I want to keep experiencing that feeling when I play an orchestra, right?
Sure.
So throughout my whole life, I've always been interested in playing in an orchestra, playing in an ensemble, because it's like a team sport. You're able to you're able to play and breathe together with all your fellow musicians and create a full soundscape that transcends dimensions.
Of course.
And now now sitting on the other side as a arranger.
Yeah.
My whole job was to try and create that same experience for the song by arranging the notes for each instrument in such a way that you can create that full depth, that full aura of sound.
Yeah. How difficult was it to cross over?
Yeah, so
as an arranger,
when you hear a song like Mera Naam Tu, there are a lot of layers. So when a song has a lot of layers like that, it does take a lot more time to arrange, because it also depends on the recording quality as well.
Yeah.
If the song is not recorded, it is especially old songs, if they're a bit of a crackle or it's not it's not high quality, you have to that also adds an element of difficulty to the arrangement process, because you have to now be a bit more creative, add your own element of arranging to it. So especially like Lag Jagale, that recording that I had on Spotify, it's decent, but it's not as high quality as the newer songs.
Okay.
So I'm not able to hear all the different parts as clearly
because it's an old recording.
It's an old recording. So then what I do is it's a mix between trying to replicate what's in the song and adding my own flavor as well. Yeah. Adding my own arrangement to it as well to create that same experience. Maybe I will change a bit of the chords to make it sound like a bit better. Yeah. So I always go. There's like the fine balance between trying to replicate what's original, but also trying to make it better as well. Trying to create my own element of
Interesting. With what you just said about adding your own flavor to the songs that you cannot stratify on the layers because it's an old quality. Yeah. That also presents you with an opportunity, I guess, to create fusion music.
That's right. Yeah.
I guess because with those songs, like if you take the whole concept of what Coke Studio does, it takes old songs and it blends the Eastern with the Western with new instruments in between, and it creates something magically new.
Yeah.
So that presents an opportunity for you there. Like maybe in the next orchestra you could have an orchestral element with a song, something like really powerful. For example, like the song from Om Shanti Om that you did, right? And incorporate maybe an electric guitar in between there somewhere with a few riffs.
Yeah, of course. So when I listen to this old Hindi songs, I recognize that there can be a lot more depth provided to those songs, a lot more instruments provided to enhance the melody, right? And especially with like Lag Jagale, I was able to add extra horn parts, extra string parts that really you don't really notice it, but you feel it.
Of course.
Like you don't notice that. Oh wait, the strings played that. I didn't really hear that before. But you don't think of it like that. You just immediately feel it. The melody being brought alive, because I didn't change the melody. It's about what happens in the background, what the supporting instruments are,
of course,
in the orchestra to enhance that sort of melody. And like you said, it presents such a great opportunity for fusion music, because a lot of Indian music just involves 3 or 4 instruments. You have the voice, you have the harmonium, tabla, and guitar. That's basically all you need to have that sort of to play that song. But for me, I love orchestra and I want to make it big. So
of course,
I want to make these songs into transform them into a grand scale.
Of course,
that's what I really my passion. And what I would love to do for future AIO concerts is to be able to take these songs and reproduce them at a much grander scale.
No, that's personally, that is what I love. Like I see this, that the kind of music that always connects to me personally is songs or music that has a wider soundscape than just your average song, right? That's one of the reasons why I love Pink Floyd so much, because Pink Floyd created a whole soundscape of what a song was, right? You know, a lot of these bands, they take orchestral elements into the pop genre or the rock genre, and then they create these soundscapes, and those songs, for some reason, they just turn into huge hits by themselves. You know? For example, Tool, for example, the kind of song, have you heard Tool at all? No. So Tool is a rock band, right? And they have this whole thing. You'd actually like them, because the whole thing with Tool is they play around with timestamps a lot. Right. So, you know, I might butcher the technical details of it. You might understand this. Like there are some predetermined time. There are some usual timestamps that most songs follow. You know, like in rhythms. What Tool does is it completely flips it. Like they'd use a timestamp of 13, or they'd use a timestamp of like really odd numbers to create music that in itself would sound very bizarre. But when you listen to the whole of it as a song, like it's something you've never heard before.
That's right. Yeah.
Right. What was like? There's a rock band called Disturbed. Have you heard of them?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah. Right. Now their kind of music is something I don't really enjoy their kind of music, the way they do really heavy metal rock, but that one song that they've done, The Sound of Silence, you must have heard that.
I think so,
yeah, The Sound of Silence. So The Sound of Silence by Disturbed is a completely orchestral song. Now that's a band that I don't really subscribe to, that's a band that I don't really relate to, but that one song, just because of that orchestral element, is something that has stuck with me like since my teens. You know?
Yeah.
So orchestral music definitely has that ability to, stoke something within you.
Yeah, I agree. I believe the same. So when growing up, playing Western classical music, I really didn't listen to that many songs.
Yep.
So I felt all the emotion with just the notes itself. So I didn't rely upon the meanings of lyrics to create that feeling for me.
Gotcha.
So in that way, I was able to understand and develop feelings for the way the notes were arranged, the harmony, the chords. Gotcha. And so I appreciate instrumental music a lot more than vocal music.
I gotcha.
I can connect with it a lot more, and I always struggle to sort of like learn the lyrics for a lot of the songs, and it's a bit harder for me to connect with like the songs, especially because I don't speak Hindi as well. So I try to connect through the way the music is composed, the way the music is presented with the chords, the harmony, and that in itself, if it's a really good song, should be able to present the emotion of which the lyrics are saying. Right? If a song is about heartbreak, if a song the song itself should elicit that emotion.
Exactly. Yeah.
Not rely upon the lyrics. Or to the words to sort of tell you that emotion. And that's the beauty of orchestral music. You have the ability to capture the full spectrum of emotions: anger, happiness, joy, sadness, delight. Every anger. You have the whole spectrum of emotions at your fingertips when you're playing orchestral music.
Just through sound.
Wow. And that's the beauty of orchestral music, and how it can be fused into modern day songs to enhance that sort of emotion. And I feel like nowadays when people hear orchestra fused with songs, they feel like they are they are transcending dimensions with their emotions. So they're able to experience something new, and that's what's really catchy, I guess, with that fusion.
So and I agree with you, and to add to that point, I feel that Eastern classical music does a much better job of eliciting emotion than Western classical does, I'd say. Eastern classical, I'd say, I mean, maybe that's my bias.
Yeah.
Maybe what I've grown up with.
Yeah, I've been in this debate a lot with a lot of, especially with my parents. Yeah. Parents are full supporters of Eastern classical, and I support Western classical, obviously because I have my own bias as well. Yeah. But I think it's apples and oranges,
I suppose.
Yeah. Every Eastern music style has its own, great qualities. It's and I think having less instruments is also beautiful.
Yeah, of course.
Because you have that sort of delicate, sort of tender nature. You have that intimacy with that music. When you have less instruments, you're able to, it's a whole different, dimension, I guess, with music.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Sometimes less is always better. That reminds me of that song, from The Wizard of Oz, Somewhere Over the Rainbow, and the guy who did the ukulele cover of that. The ukulele cover is far more popular than the original song itself. Yeah. And that guy played that whole song just on a ukulele, nothing else.
Yeah.
So, sometimes less is always better.
Yeah. No. And also it's dependent upon the type of instrument you play as well.
Of course.
So people say violin is one of the saddest instruments that you can play.
It depends how you use it.
Yeah, but you can create. Violin is used a lot for playing very smooth songs.
Yes.
Either for love
yes.
or for sadness. Yeah. If you want joy and delight, you probably go for guitar or drums. You want a more upbeat.
I guess that is the reputation that strings generally have. That strings are usually meant for solemn emotions, for sadness or sorrow or something like love, very somber.
Yeah.
But then, you must be a huge fan of Hans Zimmer.
Yes. Yeah.
Huge fan.
Yeah.
The score that he did for Wonder Woman, right?
Yeah.
So that main theme for Wonder Woman is played completely on a cello. The main instrument for that score is a cello. So you see what a cello can do over there, right? And that's a very powerful, very it's a very almost like an anthem. Kind of sound. So a cello can produce that as well.
Yeah. I think string instruments have the ability to create a lot of sounds, but I think people generally know the string instruments to create more.
Exactly.
Sound.
Yeah, there were these two guys who got really famous. Two cellos.
Yeah, you've seen the Thunderstruck.
I've seen Thunderstruck. What I really like, my all-time favorite from Two Cellos is their cover of Michael Jackson. They Don't Really Care About Us. Have you heard that one?
No, I don't think so.
It's amazing, and the reason why I love that is because obviously they're just two guys playing cellos, right? But because that song itself is so powerful, that that beat, and then them playing the cellos over it, amazing. So you check that out sometime.
Yeah, will. Yeah.
Okay, so in saying that, brings me to the next question is, so the whole debate about Western classical and Eastern classical, right? Now we know from our heritage that the depth that Eastern classical has to offer, right? How great Eastern classical music really is. But in the zeitgeist, in the popular culture, it's not really as popular as we know it, right? It's only within the subcontinent that people know about.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Or within the diaspora across the world.
Yeah.
Right. So how, in your opinion, because you're an arranger, you're somebody who plays with orchestra, how do you think we bring Eastern classical music to a global audience?
I think it's based on fusing what the existing styles of music we have, the genres of music that Western classical has, jazz, pop, orchestra, and we include a bit of Indian elements like ragas or gamakams or tabla, and use of instruments in those styles of music. So I've been listening to there's this band called Mati Bani.
Okay.
And they are able to fuse jazz, pop, rock with Carnatic and Hindustani singing.
Okay.
And they use tabla, but they also use Western instruments like clarinet and violin and strings.
Okay.
To be able to create that whole fusion. And I think it's about allowing the Western pop audience to be able to find music that they can relate to, right? When people listen to music, they're always trying to find something that they can relate to.
Of course.
Right? So if you want to introduce Indian classical music, you have to first introduce a small element to the pop genre that people are very well familiar of, but include a tiny element of Indian classical music to sort of enhance that pop music, provided a slightly different flavor to it.
Yep.
And what that does is it raises the awareness of the audience.
Yep.
They realize, oh wow, they can. Tabla is playing in this sort of jazz music.
Yes.
Jazz song.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I didn't realize that the tabla could be playing in this style, and it actually sounds so good. And what that does is then it motivates the audience to then look at more of those kind of songs, and then eventually creep further and further into the domain of Indian classical music. So it's about slowly introducing it into and fusing it into like an existing genre of music that people know, like in Western classical format. For example, in our second concert, I fused the tabla with Beethoven's Fifth Symphony.
Yes,
right? It's a very well-known symphony. Everyone knows da-da-da-dum. Right? And when I was currently in Netherlands at the time, and I was thinking, how can we make this more Indian? Because even the Indian audience would know about that, like that symphony. Right? It's very well known.
It's so famous.
It's so famous. But it's how can we transform that piece so that the not only the Indian audience can relate to it, but also the Western audience can sort of understand how a tabla can fuse with symphony.
Yes.
And the Indian audience can understand how the symphony can match the tabla. Right? Because the Indian audience relates to the tabla.
Yes.
The Western audience relates to the symphony orchestra. Right? So it's all about trying to
weave them together.
Create this sort of coexistence between the two sort of styles of music, those two instruments. And so I would say that sort of that tabla fusion with Beethoven 5 was a big success. A lot of people loved it. It was a big talking point for a lot of and even the musicians playing it loved it as well. Not just the audience members who were listening to it, but the musicians themselves. It was a fusion for them to be able to play with the tabla. And I think it's like this how we can sort of introduce more of that sort of style to different audiences. And it goes both ways. Introduce Indian classical to Westerners and also introduce Western classical to Indian. And I think that's that's our vision with AIO.
We meet somewhere in the middle, basically.
Meet somewhere in the middle,
Lovely. Like you said about infusing those instruments with Western music, it just reminded me, do you listen to subcontinental music at all, like the kind of music that is coming out of India, Pakistan, Bangladesh these days? At all? So there's this Pakistani band called Mughal Funk. Okay, so they're instrumental artists. So most of their tracks are just instrumentals, right? So what they do is they are a rock band that creates tracks infused with Eastern classical instruments. So they've got the tabla, they've got the sitar, they've got the sagar veena, they've got stuff like that. And they match that with like guitar, electric guitar, drums, and then synthesizers in between. So that creates a whole amalgamation of like, really beautiful tracks. I'll share that with you.
I would definitely love to. I'm a big, fan of, finding, great music that can fuse these like different styles. I think it also provides inspiration for future projects for AIO as well.
Of course.
So by listening to these types of music, that provides the ideas for me to arrange music for future concerts.
So speaking of AIO, like we've talked about so many other things. So speaking of the project itself with AIO, how did the idea come to you? Like was it you or Sagar? How did that idea come about?
It was so the whole story AIO before AIO begun. We had a concert in 2022 in November, and it was a string orchestra concert. Where we would play Western classical music, famous Western classical pieces. And it was going to be sort of a concert featuring 3 or 4 of those pieces. And actually my parents came up to me saying, hey, why not try and include an Indian segment as well in this piece? Just to see what it's like, because there are a lot of, because it was just a string orchestra, we wanted to include a segment which could capture the string essence of Indian music, because a lot of Indian music has string instruments. I feel like it's the most used instrument,
of course,
in Indian music, and it was just an experiment, and actually the parents pushed us to sort of try that, and I decided to make an arrangement. It was like a medley of 9 songs, and we performed it in our string orchestra concert that we hosted. And out of all of the pieces that we played, including the Western pieces, the audience, we had both Indian and Western audiences, right? They all loved the Indian segment,
The Indian segment, yeah.
the Indian medley, and that sort of was a big like game changer for us. We realized that there's a lot of potential in this style of music,
of course,
presented in a sort of orchestral format. And so we sat down one day at a bar. It was my brother and I and the conductor for that string orchestra concert that we had, and we were discussing, maybe is it possible to expand this orchestra, make it a full symphony orchestra, and play Indian music, because it's never been done before here in Australia. So we could see that there was a new avenue to explore here, right? And I think that really it excited me a lot. I actually pushed my brother to sort of to go ahead with it, because I believe that it could be a hit. This could work because it's never been done. And I really wanted to showcase my talent of arranging and composing, because I love to arrange. It's one of my passions, and it was a great excuse for me to be able to showcase like my passion, my field in that music.
Why not?
So we decided to go ahead with it in 2023. In the beginning of the year, like around April, we we started the whole planning we started to plan the whole side of the project and the music, get the set list ready. And I decided to start listening to more Indian songs, getting an idea of which songs include the most amount of orchestral music, because not every song is going to be great for the orchestra.
Of course.
So I had to do a lot of research,
yes,
and find those songs. And I had a couple of friends that helped me
provide
that music. And as the months grew, as the months went by, we were all getting a bit more excited, but also a bit more stressed, because we were still because it was the first concert. We were like, oh, is this going to really work? We're not really sure. It was a bit of a gamble. And I decided to take leave from uni. I deferred one whole trimester from my uni, and my brother left his work as well, to really pursue this project, because we needed to go like full time. Because the concert we planned in August. And it was around May and June. We only had 2 months to go, and we were like, okay, we need to go full time into this project and plan it, because there were 16 songs to arrange, and each song takes around like 2 weeks to full up, to make all those notes and to arrange it. And eventually we went through all those months, and we came to that concert, and we had all the music ready, and it came to the stage of deciding who was the best person to conduct the orchestra. And this is a discussion that I had with my brother, and we were walking one day in the botanical gardens, and we were just discussing who the best person is, and we came to the conclusion that it was going to be me as the conductor for the orchestra, and I had never conducted before. So it was a wild, daring step.
Of course.
Me.
Must not have been an easy
stepping
decision.
out of my comfort zone, going into the deep end. Essentially trying like a totally different skill of conducting. It's it was going into unknown territory, but we both felt that it was the right decision, because I had arranged all the music, and usually the person that arranges the music and composes all the music, they know the ins and outs of every single part.
Of course.
And what a conductor does is they rehearse the orchestra. They're able to tell the musicians, you got to play like this, you got to play louder, you got to play slower, like that. And what better person as the composer themselves, right? So
I'm getting flashbacks of Whiplash.
Yeah, that's right.
Not my tempo.
Not my tempo. Yeah. You got to be. Sometimes you got to be that strict. Or maybe not that strict, but a little less strict. Yeah. Not chuck a cymbal. At the person. But yeah. So it was a completely new experience, and but I decided to give it a shot and go fully into it, and and it worked. We were able to rehearse the orchestra, get it up into shape, and perform, give our big concert, sold out, and our concert was sold out as well. So
beautiful, man.
It was a big success.
Yes.
For our very first concert, and the main thing we wanted to do was raise awareness to the general public that there is a style of music that's out there that can feature both Western and Indian classical elements. And I think a lot of the Indian audience before we performed our first concert, they had no idea what what the music that they're hearing actually consists of. Right? When they're hearing Meranam Tu, when they're hearing Abhi Mujh Mein Kahin, they're simply just hearing the song, but they don't know what it actually takes to make that sound.
Yeah.
And that was another big driving factor for us to produce that concert, was to be able to enlighten our audience, to show them what it really takes to produce this kind of music.
Produce the songs.
Yeah. So that was a big.
So that was the first concert, Sydney to Mumbai.
Yeah.
That was in August. Yeah. And then you guys followed that up within the next 5 months with AIO.
The Diwali concert, in Chatswood.
So like, just off the success of the first one, you guys, like, were there some songs or ideas left over from the first one that you decided that we'll push them in the second one?
We overlapped some of the songs, and we tried to include a bit more of a Diwali themed set list for the concert.
Yeah.
It was a bit tricky because I went on my exchange to Netherlands right after the first concert.
Yes.
The problem is we had gotten clearance for the second concert after my exchange was already confirmed.
Okay.
So then I had to essentially fly back from Netherlands
for the concert
to do the second concert.
How did you rehearse? How did you do all that?
We rehearsed a week leading up to the concert.
Okay.
So the orchestra, if the musicians are really good, they only require 4 rehearsals, and usually we do those rehearsals in the week leading up to the concert.
Okay.
So I would fly back a week before the concert, do 3 rehearsals during the week: Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday concert.
Yeah.
And then we were able to produce that. And in Netherlands, I would be writing all the music, arranging the music.
Yeah.
So to be able to, and I would send the music all the way to my brother in Sydney.
Yeah.
For him to like print out the music, and then when I do fly
Yeah.
into Sydney, I would have all the scores ready to conduct. So I really did feel like a touring musician there.
Yeah. And all the while trying to submit your assignments for structural engineering or something.
Oh my God, yeah.
What was that like?
You really have to sort of switch gears when you're
of course.
When you're thinking about
because they're completely
all the
separate
engineering
dimensions.
formulas. And honestly, like I was always leaning more towards the music. I would always be spending more time arranging, and I was thinking, what am I doing here? I come all the way to Netherlands to study engineering, and I'm just doing music this whole time. But I think like doing music has really helped, like, develop the more creative and logical side of myself as well. And there's a lot of elements to music that is like logical and structured.
Yes.
And there's a lot of beauty in it. There's a lot of hidden beauty that you don't really realize, like, and there's a lot of mathematics also involved.
Exactly. With
music. And I think it's really helped the other side as well, like with engineering. And I really appreciate engineering because it is also very logical, and I love maths, I love physics. So it's sort of
Music
led into both ways.
Music is nothing more than just synchronized sounds. And that follows a mathematical formula.
That's right. Like in terms of rhythm, but also pitch, like there's like a harmonic sequence.
Yeah, of course.
And I really appreciate knowing the details of what makes the music what it is. Why does the music sound sad? Oh, it's because the notes are arranged in thirds, or the frequencies between the 2 notes are a bit lower. You can actually, if you really dive down into the full details of the music, into the physics of it, you can really truly understand what makes a music sound sad, what makes a music sound happy. So it's really fascinating. I love looking at those fine
the science of it.
Science of it, I love the science.
Maybe we can have you over some other time. We can just have a discussion on that. No, for sure, man. Like, I mean, it's all interconnected, isn't it? Like the mathematical laws that govern space and time and the world are the same things that govern music and art. The rule of the thirds in art. Why is that the way it is? Because it's consistent within natural design of the elements, right? So it's fascinating. Fascinating.
It just fits into place magically, like a
magically song. Exactly. And those are the songs. Those are the music that is more coherent with natural laws is the music that naturally sounds better to human ears.
Yeah. So a composer that I will reference is called Johann Sebastian Bach.
Yeah, Bach.
He's a Baroque composer who relied actually a lot on patterns and like maths as well. He would compose music that could be played forwards, backwards, and also you invert the notes upside down and you play them all together, they would still all sound amazing, beautiful.
Wow.
He was able to compose music in such a like in a very mathematical and structured way, and it would create a very natural sound, and it just sounds so beautiful. And that was a style of music back then, you know, in that sort of Baroque era, that a lot of the music was very structured and natural to listen to. It's very pleasing to the ear, and it's the type of music that you would also sleep to as well. When you listen to that kind of music, it makes you kind of want to sleep. And when you listen to music and you feel like you're sleeping, it's actually an indication of the music having a very natural
calming
tone and calming factor, and it creates a sense of safety. That's why you would sleep to music, right? Sometimes I would go to classical concerts, and I just feel like, I don't mean any disrespect, but I just feel like, I want to sleep, and I just want to drift away in the music, because it sounds so natural and smooth, and it just works. It fits.
Then you just flow away with it.
Yeah. But now recently, now in this day and age, there's been a lot of experimentation with music and going away from those structured means that keeps the audience awake. Yeah.
Lovely. I wouldn't take up a lot more of your time because I understand you have somewhere to be.
Yeah.
But just in terms of like letting everybody know what you're up to, like with the Australian Indian Orchestra, any new projects, any new concerts that are going to be coming up that we can be aware of?
Yeah. We are, like I said before, we are planning on our next concert, but we are trying to source appropriate funding for that first.
Sure.
We have the concept ready to go, but we are not ready to reveal the concept yet. Just yet. Yeah, we want to keep it a bit of a surprise.
Yeah.
And reveal it once we're ready.
Lovely.
To commit to the concert. Yeah.
Lovely. So Suraj, amazing like having you on. You were honestly, I discovered you on Instagram about 7 months back, right? And ever since I've started doing this podcast, like you were one of the people that I actually wanted to sit down and have a chat with. And, absolutely loved the conversation that we've had so far. I feel that there's a lot more that we have to discuss, a lot more that we can talk about, but hopefully we can do that in another episode, hopefully after your next concert, sorry. Before I let you go, there's one question that I always pose to all of my guests. Now, you're fairly young, but with all the experiences that you've already had in your life and, having conducted a full symphony orchestra at a ripe old age of 21 like based on all of your experiences, and because you understand music, and you people who tend to understand music and who are musicians, who are artists, tend to have a very nuanced and very they tend to have a very deep understanding of what life is and what life is all about, right? So based on all of that, all of your experiences growing up, playing music, being a student of science, based on all of that and the projects that you're leading into, if I ask you that, what is the one nugget of truth that life has revealed to you so far, what do you think that would be?
There have been many revealing truths that I've sort of discovered over my life. But in terms of music, I would say, just the act of just listening to music, being a part of the whole music society, and playing an instrument and listening to music is one of the best things that you can do. I think to be able to connect on a spiritual level as well. I believe, playing music has really made me feel connected with like the universe in a way. It's made me feel emotions that I've never felt before. And it's a way to universally connect with everyone.
Yes.
Because everyone is able to everyone has a sense of music within them. Yeah. Even if people don't believe that, no, people do. It's I would say like a kind of a fundamental nature of humans, I guess, you know, to be able to have that connection with music. They're able to hear that tune. But I think being able to hone in and really develop your skills with your music is such a good investment for your life. Because when life gets really hectic and stressful, the one thing that you can resort to de-stress and create like create an escape from reality is music. And I think a lot of other young people should be trying to learn and play music and listen to a lot more different styles, just to appreciate what music has to offer to them. And every individual has their own taste of music, and I think that's the beauty of it. Like music speaks differently to so many different people, but they're able to connect on a universal and spiritual scale. And I think one other thing that I will say, in the more professional world, in terms of career, the one nugget of truth I would say is that hard work doesn't always pay off. You have to have a really good network as well. Of course. Because if you spend your whole life trying to be the best and trying to develop your skills, and you want to be also successful, you have to be noticed. You have to, people have to notice, what potential you have, what you have to offer. And unfortunately, the way the world works here right now is, through connections, through networks, and you have to be able to establish your network with very different kinds of people to be able to access the whole different avenues of society. Because I was very lucky to have my brother to show me all these different avenues of music, to be able to access orchestral music and perform with orchestras. He was able to introduce me to be able to play with certain orchestra. He was my main network. And like that, for other people, they need to really try and work on developing their network to work to be like a lot more successful with their music. I think that's like a big nugget of truth that I've learned.
Lovely. One profound nugget and one solid concrete nugget. Lovely having you on, mate. I wish you all the best with the orchestral work that you're doing. I think what you guys are doing, it's a great service, not just to the subcontinental community and the diaspora in Australia, but also globally. Like, you guys are doing something that has never been done before, and I wish you all the power and all the success. And I truly believe your best years and your peak is still ahead of you. So hopefully hoping to see a lot more of your work, and hopefully I can have you on again sometime, and we can have a much lengthier chat on the profoundness of music.
That's right.
Lovely.
Thank you so much, Hussein.
No worries. If you guys enjoyed the conversation, kindly engage with our content. Leave us a like, leave us a comment. I'll leave a link for Suraj's Instagram, the AIO Instagram, their website, all of their details in the description for this episode. Do check that out. I think the work they're doing is phenomenal. Like I said, it's something that I have never seen before, and I think they deserve all the success and all the support that they can from the diaspora. So do check that out. Also, if you have not done so already, here are all the social media accounts for the podcast. All of the highlights from this conversation and all of my past conversations are going to be up there. So do check that out. Until next time, this has been In The Gap. I'm Hussain, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.